Hello, Accounting Superstars. This is Professor Don Bush from the Accounting Superstar YouTube channel. Glad you're here. I've been a professor for about 30 years and a CPA for about that long, and I've got great ways to explain accounting, folks. You come to the right place. Yesterday, I played the piano at a music gig. It was a lot of fun. I'm not the best piano player, but I had a good time. It was with a band, and it was at a farmer's market here in Conifer, Colorado. And I know every time I make these videos, you can see guitars hanging up on the wall behind me. And I imagine that some of you wonder if I actually play them. Well, actually, I do. I'm a pretty good bass guitar player. And I played the acoustic guitar just a little bit and lead guitar a little bit too, but I've had a good time. It was a lot of fun. Beautiful day too. So today's lesson is about the break-even point. We're going to do another example of the break-even point. Really easy stuff. And this is the Sunset Sailboat Company. They manufacture sailboats. So what we have is we have a traditional income statement. It's an income statement that's vanilla flavored. It looks exactly like you might see in financial statements. And by the way, I made up the break-even point example number 1, and I'm using the exact same numbers, but we're going to use them in a little different way. So this traditional income statement, this is what you see all the time, but it's not real useful. You can't make a lot of really good decisions with it. And you might wonder, well, why in the world do they have it then? Well, it's just what's required by generally accepted accounting principles. I've got a couple of assumptions here, and these are assumptions. It's not how companies actually work, but it's just to get through this problem and keep it real easy. So here's the first assumption. Cost of goods sold is 1/2 variable and 1/2 fixed. So here's our cost of goods sold up here. And so this 300,000, half of that is going to be variable, half of it's going to be fixed. And don't think that all companies work this way. This is just a made-up example. And selling administrative expenses are fixed costs. So selling 60,000 fixed, 50,000 fixed also. So what we need to do is let's get little subtotals here just so we know what's going on. So I'm going to split the screen. There we go. And so let's figure out the total variable cost. Well, as mentioned, cost of goods sold, half of it is variable. So let's put that right here. There we are, $150,000. And fixed costs, well, half of that cost of goods sold is fixed. There we go. Selling expenses, we're assuming that that's all fixed also. Probably not a good assumption, but just to get through this problem. Administrative expenses, $50,000. So to get a little subtotal here, 260,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to rearrange the furniture, as I like to say it. We're just going to take this $150,000 of variable costs and this grand total of fixed costs, and we're just going to rearrange it a little bit. So coming down here, let's do a contribution margin income statement. So here it is, and I'll get this ready for us. Here we are. So here's the format, and you might want to just memorize this format. It's really easy, folks, super easy. Just memorize it. It'll make your life in your accounting class so much easier. So here's what you do, is you write down sales, and then you subtract away variable costs, and you come up with contribution margin. Now from the contribution margin, you subtract away the fixed cost, and you end up with net income. That's all there is to it. Just memorize it, folks. You'll be glad you did. So let's do this contribution margin income statement. So sales, let's see here. What was the sales? Here we go. Sales is right there, $500,000. So let's write that down in our little contribution margin income statement. Variable costs, well, we figured out what that was. Here it is, right here. Variable costs, 150 grand. Let's copy that number right down here. And to figure out the contribution margin, all we have to do is subtract. So we'll get 350,000. Fixed costs, we figured out what that was. Fixed cost right here, 260,000. Write that down. And net income, all we have to do is subtract 350,000 minus 260. There it is, $90,000. We've got our contribution margin income statement. So now we can figure out this Break-even point. Well, almost figured out. There's just one thing that we're going to do that's really easy. So here's our little contribution margin income statement that we figured out right up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take these numbers and copy them right down here. And when you're doing your homework, you don't have to make up a separate contribution margin income statement. But I just want to, I didn't want to throw too much at you at once is what it is. That was my motive here. So let's figure out these percentages. It's real easy to do. Super, super, super easy. Sales is always 100%. So you write down 100%. You can't miss. Variable costs, all you do is take your 150,000 minus by the 500,000. Get 30%. And to figure out the contribution margin percent, super easy. All you have to do is subtract. 100% minus 30% is 70%. And of course, if you wanted to do it the hard way, you could take 350,000 divided by 500,000. You'll get the same answer. Either way, same answer. Now, sometimes if you do it, different ways, you might get a little bit of rounding going on here, little rounding errors. So what is this break-even point? Well, it's right here where these two lines cross. And it's the place where the company is not having a loss and not having a profit. So in other words, if their sales are right here at the break-even point, they won't have a loss or a profit. Now, if their sales are less than the break-even point, then they're going to have a loss. And if their sales are greater than the break-even point, then they're going to have a profit. And this is a real interesting number here to have. And the formula to figure out the break-even point is really easy. Here's what you do. It's fixed costs divided by contribution margin percentage. In other words, here's your fixed costs right there, and we're going to divide it by that contribution margin percentage. Our fixed costs, 260,000, just bring it on down. Contribution margin percentage, 70%, let's bring it on down. And the break-even point, all we have to do is divide. That's it, 260,000 divided by 70%. Boom, you're done. That's the break-even point. So in other words, if sales are exactly this amount, we will break even. In other words, the break-even point, the place where these two lines cross, is 371,429. Now, if their sales are less than this, they'll have a loss. And if their sales are greater than this, they'll have a profit. Here's what we do to double check. Well, our sales at the break-even point will be 371,429. Variable costs, we got to figure that out real quick. It's easy to do. If you recall, we figured out these percentages a little while ago, right up here. So sales are always 100%. And for this company and this problem right here, variable costs are 30%. There you go. So to figure out the variable costs, all we have to do is take our sales, 371,429, multiply it by 30%, and we will have our variable costs. There you go. Contribution margin, all we do is subtract. So 371,429 minus 111,429 is 260. And to figure out our contribution margin percentage, all we have to do is subtract there also. 100% minus 30 is 70%. Now our fixed costs aren't changing at all. They're fixed. They're that's what they are. And our fixed cost right from up here, I've got it highlighted in this bright golden yellow mustardy color, $260,000 right there. All right, so contribution margin minus fixed costs is net income, which is going to be zero. So, when you have a zero net income, that means you're breaking even. You don't have a loss, you don't have a profit. So this little contribution margin income statement, what we did here, we've proven that we got the right answer. It's always a good idea to double check things. So just to summarize here, folks, the break-even point, it's the point where you're not making a profit or a loss. And here's the formula right here, fixed cost divided by contribution margin, really easy. And we did that and we came up with 371,429. In other words, if the company sells sailboats for a value of $371,429. They will just break even. They won't have a loss, not a profit. And then what we did is we proved that it works, and there you go. So folks, check out my webpage, accountingsuperstars.com. I've got all these videos listed by topic, and that way you can find them a lot easier. Also, hit the like button, the subscribe button. That way YouTube will know that you like these videos. They'll show you more videos, and that way I'll know you like these videos, so that way I'll make more. So until next time, over and out.